Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely demystify home construction and repair. We're going to take a really fascinating journey from the raw, structural bones of a house all the way to those final cosmetic touches. Whether you're gearing up for a massive renovation or, just looking to fix a few annoyances around your house, understanding this life cycle, it totally changes how you look at the spaces you live in. Let's jump right in. Here's our roadmap for The Explainer. We'll be looking at framing walls and structural support, how to patch drywall perfectly, fixing concrete and wood joints, installing flawless kitchen cabinets, and repairing floors and window screens. We've organized these chronologically as we build out a room, and right in the middle, we're doing a special deep dive into mastering drywall repair. So, what's the actual secret to a flawless room? Well, it all starts with a simple question about what goes on behind the surfaces we see every single day. Because the secret isn't just a great coat of paint, it's all about the hidden integrity of the structure beneath it. Section 1. Framing walls and structural support. Because before absolutely anything else can happen, we really need to establish the solid bones of the room. Now, our sources point out something that's honestly quite funny, but also incredibly true. They mention that carpenters joke they can't afford to donate blood to the Red Cross because they've lost way too much on the job. Bumps and bruises are just par for the course when tackling DIY framing. It injects a bit of humor, sure, but it also serves as a really stark reminder to be extremely safety conscious when you're wrestling with heavy lumber and powerful nail guns. Take a close look at the complex 3-stud corners and channels required to give our future walls a really solid, stable backing. You can't just slap 2 boards together at a right angle and call it a day. You actually need these specific configurations, like the 3-stud corner on a standard 2x4 wall, to ensure that when it finally comes time to hang the drywall, the edges have a rigid surface to screw right into. Without this, your corners are just going to crack and crumble. Section 2. How to patch drywall perfectly. This is our requested focus for today, because hey, even with perfect framing, life happens. Doorknobs swing open way too hard, or we decide to randomly move a light fixture. The absolutely crucial point here is knowing how to adapt your approach based on the exact size of the damage. For those minor dents or tiny holes from nails and tacks, you really just need a quick layer of lightweight spackle. If you've got a small crack, just widen it slightly and lay down some self-adhesive fiberglass mesh tape. Easy, right? But large holes, we're talking anything wider than 4 inches across, those require a totally different strategy. You literally have to cut all the way back to the wall studs. So to fix those holes larger than 4 inches, you'll need to locate the nearest studs and cleanly cut out the damaged area right to their centers. But here's the real trick to prevent any flexing later on. Install scrap lumber supports vertically right behind the opening. Once that's totally secure, you'll screw in your perfectly sized drywall catch, tape the seams, and then apply multiple feathered coats of joint compound, making sure to sand in between. This whole process ensures the patch won't crack later on and blends absolutely invisibly into your wall. Hold on a second, though. Before you even think about picking up that drywall saw, please keep these critical safety tips in mind. You absolutely must cut off the main power before cutting into a wall. Why? Because your home's hidden, live electrical wires are often stapled directly to the exact studs you're hunting for. Oh, and of course, always cut away from your body. Section 3. Fixing concrete and wood joints. Now that our drywall is flawlessly patched, let's pivot to filling deep defects and refining those pesky gaps in our trim. When you're filling bolt holes or deep cavities in concrete, maybe down on a basement floor or a foundational wall, you can't just pour runny, watery cement into it. Instead, you really want to tightly tamp in this stiff, dry pack mortar. By using a specific ratio of 1 part cement to 2.5 parts sand, with literally just enough water to form a ball when you squeeze it in your hand, you minimize shrinkage and guarantee a rock-solid patch. And guys, here's a fantastic pro tip from our sources for your interior woodwork. Let's say you're framing a window or building a box, and your miter joints have these stubborn, annoying gaps. Forget running out to the hardware store for expensive wood filler. You can literally jam a mixture of fine sawdust, preferably from the exact same wood species, mixed with wood glue right into those gaps. Once it dries and you sand it down, the gap virtually disappears. It's like magic. Section 4. Installing flawless kitchen cabinets. This is the fun part, where the room truly starts taking its final recognizable shape. Now, installing cabinets requires some serious precision. So before you start, you've got to gather an arsenal of the right tools. You're absolutely going to need items like a 5-foot level, a framing square, and wood shims. I cannot stress this enough. Shims are essential because houses settle. And let's face it, walls and floors are basically never perfectly straight. Your very first layout step is finding the high spot on the floor. Basically, by laying a long straight edge with a level right on top of it, you shim the low end until it reads perfectly plumb. By identifying the highest point in the entire room, you can properly shim all your base cabinets up to match that exact height. This ensures a perfectly level run for those heavy countertops later on.
Now, people debate this all the time. Do you install the top or the bottom cabinets first? Well, to keep those base cabinets from constantly getting in your way while you work, try this expert tip. Install your upper wall cabinets first. Seriously, it saves you from having to awkwardly lean over the lower cabinets while lifting heavy wooden boxes straight over your head. Trust me on that one. Your back will thank you. Section 5. Repairing floors and window screens. Because at the end of the day, the finishing details absolutely matter.
If your older sheet vinyl floor has developed these really unsightly blisters, you don't necessarily have to rip up the whole floor. To easily flatten them out, just make a careful knife cut along the edge of the blister, work some contact cement underneath the vinyl, and let it sit until it gets nice and tacky. Then, simply lay the sheet flat and weigh it down with a heavy object for a few hours. Good as new. Now, for individual vinyl tiles that have curled or lifted at the corners, the technique is slightly different. Simply warm that damaged corner with a hairdryer until the tile becomes nice and pliable. Then peel it back, scrape out all the old glue, and apply fresh, resilient adhesive using a notched trowel to securely press it right back into place. And for a quick window fix to keep all those bugs out, you can patch tiny screen holes with heat-activated epoxy glue before they grow any larger. You just layer it on and head it with a hairdryer. But remember, if the tear is large, please don't waste your time with glue. It's so much cleaner and easier to just replace the entire screening fabric. So we've basically built this room from the framing up to the finished surfaces. You now understand how the bones support the walls, the ultimate secret to flawless drywall patching, and how to finesse everything from concrete down to the cabinets, which leaves you with one final question to spark your own home improvement journey. Now that you know the life cycle of a room, what DIY project are you going to confidently tackle first? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy building.